listening to the Concierge Coaches Show with Bruce Cameron and Wayne Fritz, only on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Concierge Coaches Show here on LA Talk Radio. I'm Bruce Cameron, along with Wayne Fritz, and our special guest that we have today. So excited to have with us somebody who is also, let's say, in the coaching space, but we'll let her talk about herself. So it's always good. Wayne and I like to bring on folks that are in the coaching space, that work with clients, either in specialty populations or, certain specific niches or whatever. So it's really good to have a fresh face on the show and talking about what you do with your work. So we have Dina Riediger with us today. And Dina, thanks for coming on the show and being with us.
You're welcome. It's an honor to be here, and I am thrilled to be here with both you, Bruce, and Wayne, and to share the world with ways that we can make impact. So thank you so much for inviting me to an amazing platform.
Oh, well, you're welcome. So glad to have you. Well, I guess let's talk a little bit about you and tell us about your background and what got you started in the field.
All right. Well, I have a healthcare background. So I'm right here in smack dab in the middle of basically Missouri, back down in around Springfield, Missouri area. And so raised down here, went through and got my biology and chemistry degree from Missouri State, went on to do nuclear medicine for 10 years, had a life change, decided that my 80 hours inside of a hospital, I need to figure out how to do 80 hours more at home, but also balance it. So GSK decided to give me a shot. Was with GSK for over 25 years and had a career of a lifetime, and had the magic number in 2015 where they handed off their oncology portfolio over to Novartis. So I was managing at that time. I had my dream job, which I absolutely loved.
Explain to our listeners what GSK is and what they do.
Yes. So GSK is GlaxoSmithKline. So they're a pharmaceutical company. They specialized in a lot of different therapies. I launched probably 17 drugs over 25 years. And the last 10 years of my career, I was actually managing. And my last 2 was the oncology. Oh, look at that. I love it. Yay.
The old school Ventolin, GSK.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just for you. That was off the cuff. But go ahead.
I'm glad that you were thinking of me at that point in time.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. So 2015, it was that magical year where things changed. I went through 4 mergers and acquisitions during my career with GSK, was able to maintain my position. But when 2015 came around, things looked a little bit different. So when it came down to handing, not invited at the table, even though I had a very high performing team, always had high performing teams. So I stepped out in 2015, retired, went back to become a certified coach in team optimization through Healthcare Coaching Institute, because I was privy to have a coach during my time at GSK and found the power of being able to create high performing teams by that work, that bottom-up approach of how do you help people to be able to be a part of change and strategy.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wayne, are you listening, Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
Keep going.
I love that place. So I've coached.
You big, me small. You big, me small.
Yep. Keep going. No, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. So I coached manufacturing. I coached the largest women-owned oil and energy merger combination here in 2016 when Wallace Oil Companies bought UGAS Dirt Cheap. So they went from a $1 billion company to a $2 billion company, doubled in size. And what they needed is to retain their high-performing managers across both industries, right? So created process there to be able to keep people retained. So we retained everybody but one. Out of that. So that was a good thing. It was one of the greatest things in history. So went forward, coached dairy trading companies and coached a lot of, like I said, manufacturing. So, and then pharmaceutical. So I have a big agnostic experience with that. And then decided late in life I got recruited to get my executive MBA, and my husband thought I was losing my mind. I think he probably thought I was. So I was coaching Wallace Oil Company, and they were recruiting me, and they said, well, why don't you just do the Women's Leadership Forum and then go ahead and do your executive MBA? And by the way, we'll give you that for free if you just go ahead and jump on into the executive MBA. So I said, okay, free's good.
Wow.
So in leadership program, 6-month program. They said, okay, this is great. We can all sit in classroom and we can read studies and we can go through and take academic work. But when we step away from this, as women leaders, are you feel confident you're going to be able to apply what you learned in class into real world business decisions? There was an overwhelming no. They weren't confident. So that's when I did a pilot, and I said, well, who wants to join me? So half the 15 of the 30 women, 15 decided to do a pilot. So we would get together once a month and we would bring up real world business critical problems. And I created a process that digs into that subconscious thinking, which is where the gold lies, because our decisions are all based on our experiences. And our experiences have a cloud. And we all know if we are solving the wrong time or even the wrong problem at the right time, it creates a whole lot more problems for women in corporate America. And so what we were finding in 6 months, it was like, oh my gosh, these women were getting more pay. They were excited. They were happy. They were negotiating well. And it was a life-changing for many of the women. So that's where diagnostic thinking has come from. And I've just continued to do that over the last 6 years with women all over the world, because we know that retaining women is really key to the success of, but we find ourselves feeling stuck and broken thinking. So that's what I do.
Wow.
I fix that broken thinking.
Wow. Now, that comes in a couple of flavors. Does that come with just individual clients, or does that come with teams?
Yes. Well, one, you can use diagnostic thinking in teams. So if I'm doing mergers and acquisitions, making sure that they're solving the right problem is critical, right? Because you can start a strategy without some of that critical thinking. So it really is best in teams. But I do one-on-one coaching outside of teams, because there's a lot of people we know when you get into teams, you just get into a critical state and you're stuck. Right. So you need to be available for people. And that's what I say. I'm kind of the coach on call, the amygdala whisperer, I call myself, because it's your amygdala. Once you're triggered, it's hard to get off the train and really try to think critically about, okay, what is the next best step? So to answer your question, Bruce, most of my training is in small groups. I've done these virtually over the last 2 years, especially during pandemic time where people were really struggling. Found great success there, but did a lot of one-on-one coaching.
So this is great. I definitely want you to, I want to focus a few minutes here on the small group, the small group part of your practice. Okay. I think a lot of people get one-on-one coaching, eliminate negative self-talk and self-doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to hold them accountable, see what their goals are, help them get their goals. Got it. But this group thing is really interesting. Yeah. And then Wayne, I want you to kind of come in there maybe. So, and then Wayne probably talked a little bit about his experience with the company he was affiliated with that is very steeped in sales.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's say, and you want it to be women only, or is it?
It can be women and men. So I've done most of my work with women, but I've done a lot of work with just women and men.
Okay. So we'll say I'll say a group of 5, 3 women, 2 guys.
Yep.
And they're tasked with becoming reps of a company to sell and do these demonstrations to sell a product. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they're getting into the sales space and trying to build their respective sales practice. They're kind of independent practitioners, but they're selling through the company.
Right.
And so what types of things, I know this is totally unfair for me to do this, put you on the spot like that, but what type of, I'm sure you've experienced that before, right? With a group of people. So kind of walk us through some of the processes
Yep.
that you use. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Amy Edmondson from Harvard, she was one of the pioneers of psychological safety. The problem is there's many times people can't experience psychological safety. And if they can't experience psychological safety, it's hard to lead psychological safety and create that for other people. So that's the first thing I do, is really establish the fact that, we don't solve the right problem at the right time 100% of the time. And people laugh at me about that. They're like, oh, no, that's not right. Well, brushing your teeth, making dinner, those are easy decisions. When you get into business critical decisions that have some heat behind them, we're never solving the right problem because we are going too quick. So I explained to them that I have to slow that process down. And when you slow that process down in the subconscious, right? Because conscious thinking, we're only going to use 5% of the time. 95% of the time, that's the goal. But we don't are clouded by experiences, past events. We even carry a genetic component for all of us from prior generations before us. If you come from a family history of whether that was a parent of abuse, whether that was somebody that has high anxiety, high depression, has a lot of self-doubt or perfectionism, I have to level set an area of safety that you're not judged, you're not shamed. We're not here to fix you. We want to hear how you think. We want to know how we can best help you dig deep for strategies that are going to move you in the right direction. So the process starts with a pledge. And I have a very rigid pledge that says, Bruce and Wayne, I need you to either say yes or no. If any part of this pledge you feel you can't honor, then we're not going to judge you, but please drop off. Feel free to leave. It's okay. We don't judge you for that. So you have an automatic commitment from people out of respect and love for each other that we're going to listen to the process. And so I'm a Judge Judy. I don't let anybody have a leading question. So I will stop them at the beginning and say, we're going to have some deep Socratic questioning that are non-leading. These are thinking questions, really deep thinking questions.
Can you share some of the elements of the pledge? You don't have to give your secret sauce away, but
one of it is just claim my experience as my own and try on the information as I hear it. So you're trying it on, right? So Bruce is going to tell me how he sees things. This was so powerful when I did a diagnostic thinking group for executive women in IQVIA, and especially for women of Asian descent. Because you know what? They have a different experience. Indian women have a different experience. Germany women, everybody has a different experience. And if you want to connect the dots for diversity inclusion, then you have to be able to try on how other people think and feel. And if you don't give yourself time to do that, you miss the greatest opportunity to create impact for each other, because that's where the magic lies.
Okay. So is a lot of your work about team building and team improvement, or is it about performance elevating and achievement?
It's
both.
Everything's fair game. So when I start my process, everybody sends me a short survey of what is the problem they're trying to solve. And then we come together as a group and we say, okay, let's all vote. Which one are you going to decide? It's not me.
Right.
I really am kind of the master facilitator, and I give myself permission and they give me permission to trigger them, when things kind of get us kind of off kilter. So we're solving one business critical problem. It could even be a personal problem. We've had that before where they told me it was a business problem. It was not. It was a personal, because we know personal problems affect personal problems. So you have to figure out which one that is and making sure you're solving the right problem. So the process is framing, reframing, framing again, reframing till we get to the right problem. And once we get there and everybody's agreement how we get there, then we can start going into solutions.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I don't want to ball hog Wayne. I know that, man, this is right up Wayne's alley.
Yeah. Let me ask you just a clarification. So you've got 5 or 6 people, and your first that group has a problem somehow. I mean, they want
Everybody comes to the plate with a problem, but
Yeah.
I don't know whose problems is who.
yes.
I don't have a clue who
Okay.
owns what problem.
And what that first part of your journey with them is to, as a group, is for them to decide as a group which problem is most important to solve now.
Yes. Yes.
As a group, not individuals.
No.
This
No.
has to be a group. Yes. Okay. All right. That's
Right.
what I.
Exactly. And the very first thing you have to do is, especially for women that I've met out of the gate, they have to understand that my heart for them is success. I have no other alternative motive in my soul that I want except for you to be successful. I want you to move faster because I had a hard time moving mountains in my own career and had to learn the hard way that there's a different way to get where you want to go. And I believe I do have the magic to do that for you because I paid the price. I want to gift it to you because I care for you. And that's what I'm here to do. So I set that up front.